Trilly Trills.
It's good, bro.
Welcome, man. Thanks for taking some time with us today.
Hey, man, I'm happy to be here, man.
Yeah, I'm gonna pop the headphones off, but welcome to the Riber Sessions, man. This is exciting. I met your boy Dollar Bin a while back. I got the chance to interview him, and he came in with a lot of heat on that interview. He dropped a few gems. And he was like, "You got to meet my boy Trills. You got to meet this guy." He's told me maybe 3 or 4 times during that interview. So I was like, "All right, maybe I should meet this guy." Anyway, I'm excited that we were able to make it happen. I was talking to you a little bit before we got started, just about how much information there was about you online and like about your music, and I think a lot of that comes from you. And I'm excited to dig into that. But I want to start by something I found, I think on your website, and it goes like this. Jazz plus soul plus libation plus cuisine plus pop art plus film equals contemporary nostalgia.
Yeah.
Talk about contemporary nostalgia a little bit while we get started here.
I'm just very, very, very deep into pop culture. I don't know where it started, when it started, but still have the fascination with it now. Mm-hmm. So I always try to tap into that because I feel like it's relatable to almost anybody.
For sure.
But I also try to bring it to wherever we are in the moment.
Yeah.
So making the things that are old and still feel good to us new.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that. Talking about, kind of just like how you got started in rap, like a lot of these things I kind of feel like maybe you picked up along the way, like each was maybe a bit of a chapter for you, jazz, then soul, then this, then food, you know what I mean? Because online you have a lot of things going on. I was clicking through your link trees and stuff like that. You're involved in a lot. So I'm curious kind of how you started and then how you got to the point where you're doing so much.
I really can't even think of a time where there was no music. Where I was actually interested in music, that kind of has always been around. Mm-hmm. Growing up in Newark, New Jersey, my blood brother was like running around with Naughty by Nature and Queen Latifah and that crew.
Tretch, yeah.
Yeah, that entire time when I was a kid. So it was always people stopping by, and that just was in me. Yeah. So writing has kind of always been there. And just along the way, I just picked up more and more and more. And it was like, rap is dope, right? But then I started to look at the samples, right?
Right.
And listening to Tribe Called Quest, I'm like, where is this coming from, right? Or where are these melodies coming from? Where are these horns coming from? And then before you know it, there's like some Coltrane you're listening to, you know what I mean? And it just kept building and building.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where like the more that you add, very exciting, but like it gets harder and harder to balance. How do you balance everything? How do you keep track of all your links? How do you do all that?
Super tough, bro.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't tell you how many hard drives are just sitting around.
I'm sure.
With I get people all the time saying, where's this, where's this, where's this? They've seen me. I've learned to shut my mouth. But there's been so many times where I've shown somebody cover art.
Right.
And this title, right?
Yeah.
And all this music's there.
Right.
And then I'm like, nah.
Right.
Yeah. So the balance is not really that easy for me.
Yeah.
I just learned that maybe keep some of this in the tuck and work at a pace that doesn't drive you crazy.
Yeah.
And the pace that doesn't drive me crazy still allows me to put out a decent amount of work, I guess.
Yeah. You know what's interesting? In the intro that I kind of did when it was jazz and soul and cuisine and pop art, the one thing you didn't list was hip hop. And I thought that's interesting because you're a rapper.
Right.
So I guess to you, all of those things combined must be hip hop in some sort of way. No?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think all of those things are in the culture and kind of have always been in the culture. So that wasn't done intentionally, but I guess subconsciously it was it's all there.
Yeah, I love the idea of contemporary nostalgia, kind of the old and the new blending together. How do you feel like that impacts your music? Like, do you make an effort to kind of like be a contemporary nostalgist when you write?
No.
No? I was
No.
going to say probably not. And I asked that question kind of with like, I kind of thought I knew the answer just by listening to your music. It's so interesting because it kind of feels like you have your artist career and that goes in one direction. And then you've got this other side of you that's deeper in different ways. You know what I mean? That maybe the music doesn't quite touch, you know? For example, we're going to get into this more. Your project Nork, the one that just came out.
Right.
Dope project. But like, that's an intense, I mean, you're talking your shit, you know? You're really like, you know, on your bully, for lack of a better way to say it, really. But then, like, you know, you get into these other, like, you know, Lush Life and Occupy or Barstool, and it's like, it's a lot, you know what I mean? It's not quite as harsh. It's kind of interesting to see the dichotomy of the two sides of you. Have you ever thought about it like that?
Yeah. They exist, right? And so the Nork project is really a side of me that people don't see that often.
Yeah.
Because generally I'm pretty even keeled. And that's just it. That's what people see all the time.
Yeah.
And that's where like Lush Life and all of that stuff comes from.
Right.
That's like literally me at my core. But, you know, I still have been in a lot of shit.
Right. Sure.
And it's still all there.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't see a therapist.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
I don't see a therapist about
this can be your therapy, right?
Right,
you know,
right,
music.
right.
Yeah.
So then I take that opportunity to collaborate with artists that are like a little more brash,
right?
And like I get to get that shit off with them.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I like it. I think having two sides is like, I don't know, so interesting, you know, because like what you're like kind of what I was saying earlier, what you're not able to do in the hip hop, you're able to, you know what I mean, do in other ventures. It's really cool. For those that don't know, let's talk a little bit about what you got going on outside the music, and then I have a lot of questions about Nork, which is what I want to focus on mostly for this interview since it's your most recent release. But just kind of for those that don't know, what's Lush Life?
Lush Life kind of came out of a time where I partied a lot. And you know, my party has never been like turn up party, you know what I mean? Like it's like everything surrounding us could be crazy, but like my core group of people, we'd always be in a cut somewhere. We make sure we had a table and make sure we had bottles, and we literally sit like on lounge chairs and just watch the shit.
Right.
But
that sounds better to me than blacking out and having a hangover the next morning, honestly.
Yeah. And
I'm kind of on that same vibe, low key. I was talking to a buddy the other day, and I was like, we were going out or whatever. We were looking for bars, and you know, we're walking on the Lower East Side, which is where I live. And he was basically like, let's go here, let's go there. And I'm like, nah, dude, let's just go to like a jazz club, you know? Or like, let's go to where we can just like sit back and, you know what I mean? Listen to each other's conversation. It's a different vibe that I'm feeling, because when I was in college, I definitely did the turn up thing. But like now I feel it shifting a lot. It's interesting. Yeah. Were you ever on the turn up vibe?
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I've always had, again, we go back to that.
Right.
Both of those things exist, right?
Yeah.
So there's been times where I'm just with a certain group of people and I'm just feeling that shit. Like I just want to go crazy. But more than not, 80% of my time, I just want to relax and shit. Yeah. And that was built out of that. Like we fucking made cocktails all the time and just sat in couches and just vibed out. Yeah. So, you know, I was like, I don't think there's really music for the drinker that's not a drunk. Like, you know what I mean? Like the drinker that's not having the high-end champagne or having fucking 40 ounces. Like, there needs to be music for people that are in between that. Yeah. And that's kind of how that came.
How Lush Life kind of started?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's such an interesting idea. Like, did that hit you one time when you were in the club and everybody was bumping, all of a sudden you were like, oh, shit, there's no music for these people? Like, did it just kind of hit you randomly?
No, 100%.
Yeah?
100%. Because it's funny. We literally had a table full of cocktails, right? Mm-hmm. We didn't do the bottles. Because let's be honest, the bottles are fucking ridiculous. Like $500 for the sparkler to come through is kind of ridiculous.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And then you're drinking shit that you don't really want to drink.
No, and you know what else? Like, I don't know about you, but for me, I can't really taste the difference between a $500 bottle with sparklers and the $25 or $30 bottle at the liquor store. I really can't taste the difference.
Bro, the difference is very slim.
Right?
Like, it's
the
such a minuscule.
The margins are thin.
Yes, yeah. So, I mean, that's how that happened. We were sitting, we all had these cocktails and shit, and everybody was going crazy in the club. And we're like, yo, wouldn't it be dope if there was kind of loungy rap that was about this shit?
Yeah.
And that's how it came.
Dope. That's dope. What about for those that don't know, switching gears, Occupy a bar stool? Because this is out there too, you know?
Yeah, that was a moment in time, you know what I mean?
Is that still kind of going, or is it not as much?
Well, that kind of was a collaboration with someone. I had did Lush Life first, and at that point in time, it had gotten so big on Twitter that people were following me just for that.
Yeah,
and
for Lush Life or for Occupy Bar?
For the Lush Life shit.
Yeah.
And then like one of my homies, well now my homie, but at that time we were just getting to know each other through the hashtags.
Yeah.
He's like, yo, I really like this shit. And he's like, my shit is, like, I'm a drinker. But, again, he was a more hard-edged drinker, like, straight-up Henny and shit, right? Ooh. And he's like, I like to pull up just, like, on bars and have shots and shit.
Right.
And he's like, let's collaborate with something. And Occupy a Bar Stool was born out of that. This is, like, literally during the Occupy time, and
so that's where it kind of comes from.
Right.
All right, that's interesting. Yeah. Was the goal to kind of like tie the two together?
The goal was to tie the two together, and you know, just like what happens to a lot of us is that my partner in the Occupy a Bar Stool thing kind of fell out of love with rap. So but Lush Life still stands though.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. Yeah, I love the Lush Life stuff. How do you kind of delineate your time between Lush Life and, you know what I mean, the albums that you're putting out? Because you put out a good amount of music. You know, I was kind of surfing through Spotify and Apple Music, and there's quite a bit of content. You know, quite a few songs.
Yeah, carving out the time, man. It's, you know, like sometimes I have to literally sit home and like just be like, you know what, I can't watch Stranger Things today. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I'll like cook, or I'll just fucking I'll paint or something like that. And in that, something's usually always born from that.
Yeah.
And I'll take that time, just a half hour or something, to jot something down. And there's all these ideas, right? And,
right.
And I just know that at some point, like, people want to hear something different. So if I had a notebook with you, I could show you that there's literally like a page for all these different ideas and different characters and different sounds. And
that's what it is.
There's track lists.
Yeah.
There's just a plethora of stuff, and it's just kind of finding a way to split it.
Yeah.
Whenever I can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel that, you know, kind of taking it a bit of a step back. It's impressive how much you're able to continue to work on. You know what I mean? While you're kind of doing everything at once. But I wanna learn a little bit more about the basics of Trilly Trills and how you got your rap name.
So this is funny, right? Because Trill has become such a synonymous term with Houston,
right?
Which it was born in Houston, but in Newark around the early 2000s, there was a time where we would shoot CeeLo. We would just be on the block playing CeeLo. And anytime you, like, crack somebody's head, you know what I'm saying? Anytime you roll 4, 5, 6 and you swept the whole board and shit, like, someone would yell out Trills every time. You know what I'm saying? Just like true, like, you know, that kind of thing.
Right.
And we did that almost every day after school. And it became such a thing that it was like, yeah, that should be your name.
Right.
You know? And I actually was in a duo at the time. And our group name was 456. So, like, CeeLo was a huge thing for us.
Yeah.
And Trails came out of that. And initially that was my name, just straight up, flat out Trails.
Right.
And then, like, a pop group popped up.
Yeah.
With the name. And girls had kind of called me Trilly Trills just because they thought that it sounded cooler or cuter or whatever.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? I'll just throw the Trilly on
Yeah,
it.
just
You know what
vibe
I
with
mean?
it, right?
Yeah.
It's crazy. You know what's funny about like so my name on Instagram is Mikey Ribes. And so I never wanted to make an Instagram. I really didn't. This was like sophomore year of college, and I was like, I didn't get it, you know, which was maybe I was ignorant to it. I didn't get it, and I was like, why do people care about posting photos? Like just keep them on your phone, you know. It was maybe it was early. It wasn't really that early, but for me, I guess it was. And I finally got convinced by this girl I was dating at the time to make an Instagram. So I actually owe my handle to her. She came up with it, Mikey Ribes.
Right.
Kind of the Trilly Trills. Mikey Ribes, like,
Yeah.
I don't know, but I kept it. It's stuck. And now it's like kind of, you know, it's grown on me a ton. And it's the whole thing now. So I owe her for that, I guess. But
if we're being honest,
yeah,
women know all the shit.
Scary.
It's
scary, yo.
Yeah, man. If they give you a suggestion,
they just get it.
Yeah,
so it's wild.
yeah.
So I've had that Instagram name now for that was in 2015. So it's been 8 years, 7 years almost with that same Instagram name. Yeah. So it's probably never changing. But that reminded me of that story because you said that there was a girl that the girls called you that. And I'm like, that's crazy. They just know.
Yeah,
it's wild. I don't know what CeeLo is. What's CeeLo?
It's just a dice game that you know. It's you roll 3 die. You put the money up. There's a certain amount of dice rolls that trump others. You know what I'm saying? You could you could roll trips, which is 3 of the same number on each die, and that's a high roll. But rolling a 4, a 5, and a 6 trumps it all.
So 4, 5, 6. That's the best roll you can do.
Yeah.
And there's only 3 dice.
Yeah.
That's fun. I've never played.
Yeah.
But like, you know, I think I see people playing though.
I'm sure you have.
Because you know what? I used to play soccer out in Brooklyn, kind of like later at like in the evenings, like 9, 10, 11 or whatever. And I would walk from the subway to the field, about a 5-minute walk. And in this one area, like a courtyard, I always see like 3 or 4 groups of people all huddling around these die and they're throwing them this. There's always 3 of them, and I was like, I wonder what they're doing.
Yeah, that's definitely what you're saying.
That's CeeLo? Oh, word. All right.
Yeah. Which I'm sure is probably where CeeLo Green got his name. I don't know for sure, but I would guess.
Yeah, probably something like that. You know, maybe he was the best CeeLo player. Who
Yeah,
knows?
yeah,
You know. Let's get into a little bit more about the music. You know, I'm excited to talk more about your music and definitely the Newark project, which I learned is the like phonetic pronunciation of Newark, right?
Right.
So I'm not from New York or Newark or anything like that. So I pronounce it Newark. I'm super Midwest about it. I'm from Detroit. So it was kind of cool to learn that. You learn something new every day, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm going to start walking around like, hey, Newark, what up? Like, I don't know if it's going to be like that. But I thought that was cool. I want to get into that in a minute. Before, though, I want to talk about the Let It Ring music video. This is going to kind of be my... my transition into your music, because I think there's a huge creative side to this music video, and I think that there's a lot kind of to unpack. So basically, you guys are on a heist.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I watched the video a couple times to kind of like, you know, figure it out. But you guys are like stealing artwork from a gallery space, right?
Right.
Kind of tell us about how the idea for the music video came up, because I liked it. It was fun to watch.
That's funny. Dala and I were just kind of thinking about how we could make this drill video kind of have some action, but also not just jump around on like our blocks and shit, right? Because you know, we jumping around on the block is fire. Don't get me wrong. You know what I mean? I still am looking for that song, where we could just go crazy on the block,
right?
But we kind of just wanted to, as drill. When Brooklyn drill and New York drill was coming to this big explosion, we kind of were like, if we're gonna do it, we kind of just want to do it in the way that we would do it, right?
Yeah.
So we were just thinking, and I had this artwork that I was already working on, and it was in the midst of doing that project, and I actually painted a piece for every song on that Trill Dollar album.
That's really cool.
And since I had them, I was like, yo, why don't we hang these up and, you know, and like kind of like just run in and jack them. Like it just felt fun.
Yeah.
And it kind of tied into what the first Trill Dollar project kind of was about.
But that's you and Dollar in the video, right?
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
It's funny. It was funny for me to watch because I was like, oh, like halfway through, I was like, oh, that's both of them. That's Dollar. Because I had met him earlier, and I was like, oh, that's hilarious. After knowing him for a little while, man has so much energy. We got to shout out to Dollar Benji for hooking this up. Forgot to say that earlier, but man has so much energy, and I was just like, it's funny to see him acting. It's great.
Yeah, bro. I mean, one of the good things about collaborating with Dollar Ben is that he is really like that classic sitcom duo kind of shit. Like you're gonna like get me kind of just hanging back and chilling most of the time, but he's like running all around me. I love that shit.
It's hilarious. Even when we did our interview, he was all over the place. I loved it. And then it was a whole vibe. The interesting thing about the video is kind of like, you know, even in the description, you kind of talk about like how much of your art do we control?
Right.
You know, I'm kind of curious to think of, like, to ask you about your thoughts about control of art in the music industry, and kind of get your opinion on that, because you're an independent artist,
right?
So you own you own everything of yours,
right?
But like, talk a little bit about how much of our art do you feel like we control?
To be honest,
and then maybe how it ties into the video too.
Right. Yeah. To be honest, you own. If you're independent and you've got all your shit in order, your paperwork and all that shit in order, you technically you have all this ownership, right? But we've also allowed ourselves to get in a space where what happens if all the DSPs just disappear, right? Then what do? You still have this ownership, but you still have to figure out who it's going to go through. And so in some ways, even with the ownership, you're going through someone that owns something else, right?
Yeah.
And that's just kind of how I felt about it during that time.
Yeah.
It's still kind of sticking with me, really. Yeah. But again, like, we live in a world where everything is shared, right? Yeah. So even if I mean something, and like if one of these bars means something, it means that to me, but it could be taken another way. And that shit could, however someone takes that, could go so crazy on Twitter that it just like will bastardize your work.
Yeah.
And it's like, wait, but I own this and I meant this, right? So to some degree, even with your ownership, it could still be kind of in the hands of other people.
Right. It's kind of crazy. You say towards the end of the description, you know, Trill Dollar is reminded that someone will always be in the shadows to lift it from under your nose, which is the video, you know, robbing the art studio. I thought that whole video was really cool. Do you, like, is that one of your maybe like, is that something you enjoy doing, like coming up with the creative aspect of like the videos and like, how do I, you know, take this song and kind of like, you know, make it maybe like relatable on a different level with the visuals and things like that? Is that something you enjoy doing?
No, it's a lot of fun for me.
Yeah.
Before I ever wrote a song, I was writing stories. Like, I had this big kind of nerdy part in my life, like from 5th to 7th grade, where
join the club.
And you know, I was like the weird kid, right? Because I had these brothers that were like super popular in the city, you know what I mean? And in turn, I was a popular kid due to that. But I was also an artistic kid, so I would like run around and get into all the shit that like the popular kid would do, but I'd go home and write stories to submit to these contests and shit.
Yeah.
So that was always there. And when the music popped, it was, even when I'm writing the music, there's another story in the back of my head that I always think could be a visual component. That happens every time I write a song.
When you're writing a song, do you ever start thinking of the visual component and then think to yourself, oh, I could take this song in a completely different direction?
Oh yeah,
All the time?
all the time.
What about like an example? What was one song that happened on? Can you think of one?
For sure.
Yeah.
I don't want to give away too much because
Yeah,
this
yeah.
is a new piece of music that'll be coming.
Oh, you heard it
But
here, yo. It's exclusive.
but yeah, I was writing this song recently, and it's actually for the second installation of Trills music.
Ooh,
Yeah.
that's what I like. That's what I like to hear. That's what I like. I'll take a sip of that. That's what I like to
Yeah,
hear. You know?
let's sit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was for that. So as I'm writing, because this new project from us is going to be very conceptual. So as I'm writing it, I'm thinking to myself, I could see all of these visuals that will work for music videos or whatever, right?
Even art probably for it, right?
Even art,
Right.
Yeah. And as I'm doing that, the thoughts are coming out that maybe I'd like write this in this bar and connect it to this bar, but then I'm like, oh shit, I'm getting ahead of myself. This is going to turn out to be like I want my music to be a story,
Right.
but I don't want it to be so much a story that you're ripped out of the fun aspect of the song. So I try to make, and I know this is a terrible way to put it, but some songs require this depth that people can grasp onto and be like, wow, that's like phenomenally written. But I also want to have more music that's fun to listen to without thinking.
You don't want the story to necessarily overpower the song, right? Like you still want the song to be.
I still want you to vibe the fuck out.
Yeah, you still want us to vibe, right? Like it's there's that element to it, but like at the same time, there's something you're trying to get across.
Right.
So is that ever a difficult? 'Cause you're a lyricist. Is that ever a difficult balance for you, being somebody who's probably so focused on how to make words fit together?
Yeah.
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 Yeah. If I shut that part off, that's going into the story or the visual aspect, it's going to flow so much better.
Yeah.
But that's a hard switch to shut off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, that's crazy.
So I find myself doing that a lot. Like, bro, you're writing this. The story aspect is leaking into this too much.
Yeah.
And then I'll scrap and then I'll just go back
Yeah.
to flows, and I'm like, I need to like make this more vibey and give you a hint of, little sprinkles of what I'm trying to convey.
That's cool. Do you feel like you learn something new every day when writing music? Do you feel like you learn every day?
Yeah.
What about like, can you give example of the most recent thing that kind of hit you that was like, oh, good learning?
Most recent.
Yeah. Or one that sticks out.
One that sticks out.
Yeah.
To be honest, although this is something that I've kind of sort of always done, more recently with the Nork project, it occurred to me that I don't necessarily need to bar this shit down on every single song.
What do you mean by that?
Like the wordplay doesn't have to be so insane every single time I write these songs.
Yeah.
And that occurred to me just working with two other guys. That was like, yo, I just heard this verse and you barred this shit down so crazy that me competing with that or even giving bars that are equivalent to that is going to kind of narrow the listener to me. So it's like, yeah, I'll take the opportunity to just kind of swag this verse out or like just have it like the cadences be very flow driven and try not to like knock people's heads off with the bars on this one.
Yeah. I wanna. That's a great segue into the Nork project because you're right. You're really, like we were kind of talking about earlier, like pretty brash on it, and I enjoy that a lot. Especially listening to it was kind of like, oh man, these guys are like, they're on top of their shit. They're, you know what I mean? They're kind of owning it. The one thing I did want to say though, Fast Times from South Ward is that lyrical aspect of your artistry that I really feel like I picked up on,
Nice.
and I enjoyed listening to that a lot too. But kind of getting into Nork, you have a line on two different songs. That is they're very similar. One of the lines is on the song "The Shoes," which is not on Nork, but the line goes, "Flyer man, it's got how does it go? Flyer man, it's got to be the shoes, right?" And then on where does it go? I think "In and Out." Your lyric is Trilly the Wonder Rhymer, what's flyer than when I kick it? And I was like, that's interesting that I heard him kind of write that line, not twice, but kind of take the same concept and say it two different ways.
Yeah.
Because I went on Genius and I looked at some of your songs, and this is a line that you've annotated. So I'm going to read your annotation, and then let's break down maybe both lines.
Okay.
What's more, so the line is, Flyer man, it's got to be the shoes. And the annotation from you is, what's more flyer than achievement? When hitting your goals, people tend to question how you did it. It must be something other than your talent. This is a reference to the classic Jordan ad where Mars Blackman, who's played by Spike Lee, repeatedly asks Michael Jordan what makes him so special. He is convinced it's Jordan sneakers, but Michael Jordan says, it's not. It's me. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy. And then on In and Out, which is a project that's, a lot different than The Shoes, you know what I mean?
Right,
different
right.
vibe completely. You go, Trilly the Wonder Rhymer, what's flyer than when I kick it? And I'm like, man, he said the same line two different ways. I'm wondering if it's just you love that line so much, or if it was just like, I know I can fit this line in two different contextually separate places.
Yeah. The latter.
The latter. Okay, so you knew you could make it work two ways. So
Yeah.
were you conscious of this when you wrote this second line on In and Out? Did you kind of know it already?
Very often I am.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough.
So, it was...
I thought I was gonna get you just now. I thought that was my one question where I came in here and I was like, oh, I got him. But anyway, maybe not.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's
right.
It's always...
I tried.
I'm always, because this is a thing that has happened to me in the past, that I have. Sometimes you forget a bar, right? And you might have the bar in another song.
Right.
So I always look back at my work to see if I'm doing that, because I consciously don't want to do that.
That's crazy. You know who else does that? Eminem and Lil Wayne were like doing an interview once, and they both say that they have to do that, or else they might rewrite lines and they don't even realize it.
Oh, yeah.
Because they just be like in a zone. Same as you. They literally go on and look them up. They look up their old lyrics.
Yeah.
That's wild to me.
I absolutely have to do it.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, for one, my memory is just not as good as it used to be.
Yeah, fair enough.
And two, if you're writing, there's a lot of writing, and there's so much writing that I do that literally when I write it, it's gone.
Yeah.
Until I need to record it, then I'll go over and over it again till it sticks.
Yeah.
And then often after I've recorded it, it's gone again. Like it's kind of like a Rolodex of lyrics. So yeah, I have to look back at them.
That's crazy.
But knowing that, like, I literally kind of just came off the shoes when I wrote In and Out.
Because The Shoes was about, if I'm correct, what, 4 months? 2022, right? The Shoes was about 4 months ago. I think The Shoes is on SoundCloud.
Yeah.
But I don't think I saw it on any streaming service.
It should be on all of them.
It should?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll double check. But I definitely heard it on SoundCloud. And that's where I kind of saw the line and was like, oh, here we go.
Yeah.
That's cool. What was it about that line that you felt could fit in two different places?
It's I really don't necessarily, well, in that in and out verse, I kind of just wanted to reference a classic Jay-Z line, which is that Wonderama shit, me and my conglomerate. I kind of wanted to reference that.
Yeah.
But as I started to write it, then I thought, like, let's say some fly shit, right?
Right.
And then it's like fly, kick, kind of like, you know, like martial arts of a literal fly kick.
Yeah.
And when it came to me, I was like, oh shit, this can kind of tie into something that I just recently did. It's kind of like
It's crazy.
trying to create Easter eggs. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's. Well, I found it. I thought it was really cool. We've kind of been talking about like this is an intense project. What made you want to really like, you know what I mean? Like, for lack of a better way to say it, because I don't necessarily love this terminology, but go so hard. I don't know. I feel like everybody says that too much, and then like I don't know. When I ask someone, "Hey, you went really hard," like I don't know, it feels unnatural.
Yeah.
What made you want to go all out? Or at least in this direction, because you matched kind of the energy of Prince AK, who you've worked with on past projects before.
Prince Ak, he's literally my
Prince
blood brother.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, for sure. And then True Trills, right? Or True Trilly,
True
right?
Triller.
Yeah. Is also on Nork, who also spits bars. But you guys have the same kind of like great chemistry of you guys are all on the same page, which is probably different, maybe mostly for you, right?
Yeah. I mean, they have been. So the two of them are in a group together, but it's a 3-man group with Reek the Kid. But we kind of knew that we wanted to go into this direction because it's something that me and my brother had been talking about. He's kind of in the boom bap lane completely.
Yeah.
He does step out though to do like more like vibey shit.
Yeah.
But they're like a boom bap group.
I feel that. A lot of the beats had a boom bap like the beats' parents were boom bap. You know what I mean? And then like these weren't quite boom bap, but they were close, man.
Right.
Anyway,
it's like boom bap had a trap baby, which I call
because they've got these
trap.
Right, they've got these like kind of these like miscellaneous like sounds, but they're looped and they sound good. But it's like I don't know what that is. Kind of I don't know. Right. It's an interesting. The beats are interesting. They hit, but it's like I was like picking them apart. I'm like, man, these are like I haven't heard beats like this quite kind of before.
Yeah.
Because they're kind of like banging on your. They're kind of banging on the thing. The bass kind of is big and. Anyway.
Yeah. So I mean, he does that, and I'm generally speaking, a more relaxed artist.
Right.
So we had always been talking about how can we merge what I do with what he does, and it was literally just how do we find the right soundtrack for it, and the second we did, we just went crazy.
That's awesome. That's crazy. Let's see, what was I going to go with here? Oh, okay, True Trilla. How did you guys kind of pick him to be a part of the project?
True Trilla grew up with my brother.
Oh, nice.
Probably the rapper that's like been rapping the longest, True Trilla. And I mean, his flow is like often so unorthodox, and the guy is insane. Like he literally has 1,000 ways to beat the shit out of somebody.
Right.
So it was like, how can we not do this with True? Like we have to bring him in. Just sonically, we knew it would work, and it was necessary.
Yeah. That's awesome. Kind of going a little bit back to that boom trap style. That's a term that I haven't really ever heard before. If you had to describe that to someone who had never heard boom trap before, how would you describe it?
I would describe it as having the BPM of a trap song, having the vibiness, danceability of a trap song, but the drum pattern of classic boom bap.
Yeah.
That's how I envision it to be.
Yeah, it's actually interesting because when I was listening to Nork, one of the things that kind of like kept coming up for me is I was like, man, these drums kind of remind me of something, but these samples or these, you know what I mean, kind of these melodic harmony pieces remind me of something else.
Right.
So it was kind of interesting to get both of those sides, like looking to the future a little bit. I know you're probably working on a ton, but like, what's your vision for your artistry? You know, where do you kind of see yourself taking your career over the next, you know, kind of period of time?
So when I got into this, I started writing raps so that I could write rap for other people.
It wasn't even supposed to be for you.
No.
Interesting. Who was it? Was it gonna be for? Was it gonna be for Prince, or was it just like
just whoever wanted
it?
Anybody?
Yeah.
Like I saw Crush Groove when I was a kid. Just a classic New York rap movie. Featuring Run DMC, the Fat Boys, the Beastie Boys, Curtis Blow, Sheila E. Long list of people.
What was it called?
Crush Groove.
Crush
with a K. When I saw Crush Groove and I watched, I know a lot of people know Rev Run as the reverend that sits in his jacuzzi and sends messages to people.
Right.
But when I saw Crush Groove, it was literally like a fucking superhero. Like literally one of the coolest dudes I've ever seen in my life. And I just watched them in the studio create these songs. And in that movie, the Fat Boys are trying to get noticed. And I watched them perform a song in their high school, and people go crazy over it.
Yeah.
And I'm like sort of introverted Virgo. So even as a kid, I kind of knew, I don't know that I necessarily want people to go crazy over me personally.
Right.
But I know I want to be the person that is involved in that process. So
sure.
I always wanted to write rap. And I just did it for fun when I was a kid. Just kind of, I guess, sharpening a tool that I did not know for sure I would ever use.
Right.
But when I became a teenager, then I was like, yeah, I would like to write raps or songs for people.
Yeah.
But how do you get people to know that you can do that if you've never recorded a song? You can't just send somebody a sheet, right?
Right.
They need to hear the reference track at least.
Yeah.
So I started recording that way. And people, I mean, I have written for people a lot in my lifetime.
Yeah.
But people also kind of liked how my voice sounded. So I just kept recording shit.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love it. So kind of like your vision for yourself, obviously you see yourself continuing to record. Is the vision to kind of like now grow yourself as Trilly Trills, sky's the limit kind of thing? Or is it like,
Yeah. I mean, still in my head, the vision is still on writing anything, literally anything. I mean, even film, like writing is still the number one thing for me.
Yeah.
It's like even above being Trilly Trills, the recording artist.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
You put it even before your persona of Trilly Trills.
Oh, yeah.
It's like it's built into you.
Oh yeah.
The writing. Let's maybe go down the writing path a little bit. Like if you weren't a rapper, what would you be writing? Would film be the thing you want to work on the most?
For a fact.
Yeah.
For a fact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If someone came to you with a contract and said, movie, like, would you be like, all right, peace out, rap? Like for a couple years, I got to go do this.
100%.
Yeah. Oh, not even no hesitation.
I don't even need to think about that.
Right.
No.
Fantastic. I mean, that's crazy. I don't know. I talk to a lot of rappers, and their entire message is like hip hop, rap, lyricists, songs, production, videos, shows. That's it. That's all they want to do. It's so interesting to interview you because you've got different things. You've got Lush Life, you know what I mean? You're doing partnerships with Occupy or Barstool. You're working on like food. I see that you have a lot of like merchandise out for different projects you're working on. It's got to be different being in a space with a lot of people that are so focused on one thing, and you have all these other things. Do you ever feel like an outlier?
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't often even like fit into rapper circles. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
It just doesn't happen because I don't, outside of the records, I don't think I have the traditional rap persona, you know?
For sure. I buy that. I do. I'm a paying customer. I feel like it's true though. I really do, you know, because you have this you have this brand about you where, like, when I first like was looking at Trilly Trills, I was like, all right, who is this guy? You know what I mean? Like, what is it? And then I kind of figured it out pretty quickly. I was like, all right, he's a creative who has these, you know what I mean? These two different versions of you know what I mean? Like relating to people.
Right.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Do you feel, man? All right. I guess where should I take this next? How can I say this next question? Like, do you ever get recognized around and things like that? And do people like recognize you for the stuff that's not rap, or is it mostly for the music?
I'm for sure recognized in the city. It's funny. My cousin moved out of the city and she moved to Portland, and she came to visit. And you know, she's always like gassing me up and shit. And I'm like, yo, man, sure. I'm still out here trying to eat like everybody else. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm still at the 9 to 5 because I need my health benefits and shit. Here. I'm not that different from you.
That's why we're recording at 6 o'clock.
Right,
you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. I'm not that different from you, right? But like, she came to visit and from Portland, and we just go out to the mall and shit, and like somebody like stops me at the mall. I'm like, fuck, why does this have to happen while my cousin's here?
Right,
you know what I mean?
Because she's gonna go crazy. Great timing on your part.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, that happens, and it's 100% for the music every time.
It's for the music every time.
Yeah.
Would you want it to one day be about the other stuff?
100%.
Yeah, you want it. Yeah. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. If one aspect of your like, I don't know, if one aspect of your career took off and everything else was kind of just like became like a hobby for you, what would be the one thing? If one of your ventures took off.
See, like, this depends, right? So if rap took off,
it's also hard because these are all your babies. You created a lot of stuff, you know.
Yeah. But I think it would probably be between rap and film. Although, look, my parents would be like, "What the hell," right? Because they spent a lot of time. I went to a high school for visual art, right, in the city. Same high school Michael B. Jordan went to.
Oh, nice.
I went to that high school, and like they worked hard with me, you know what I'm saying, to get into that high school.
Right.
Because if I didn't get into that high school, I was going to my public high school.
Right.
And quite frankly, all of my homies were like hustling or like stealing cars. And
right.
I was going to be with them for another 4 years.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they worked hard on that, right? So they would be like, what the hell? Like, you're not going to do any of the painting and all this shit that you like studied 4 years. But for me, that's like at the bottom of my hobbies. So it would be that. I would hope that rap would pop, or I would film something one day that would pop.
Yeah.
And they're interchangeable in that way.
That's man, that's crazy. I just kind of wrapping up here. You know, what can the fans look forward to? What's coming next for you? You know,
expect insane. I mean, what me and Dollar Ben are doing now is incredible. Like, the fucking guy blew me away, man. Like,
it's about to go down. It's about to go down. I can tell.
I'm telling you, bro. Like, this fucking guy blew me away. The beat pack that he sent me was so crazy.
Crazy.
Like, I don't know if people really like. We're talking about,
get ready.
Bro. Yeah. We're talking about like genius. This guy
different.
is a genius level music producer.
It's different.
Yeah, it's fucking different.
All right, that's hype. See, now I'm hyped. Now I gotta like see, because Dollar Ben is actually here today at the studio, and like now I kind of feel like we gotta hop in the car and play some shit or something.
We got some shit. We got some crazy shit coming.
You got shows coming up?
I have shows coming up for the Newark project.
Nice.
We're just carving out the right spaces for it.
Right.
And we're looking for some instrumentalists. That's really like, we're working on that. But
what types of what are you looking for?
We just are trying to find the perfect band that could come together and play that brooding, dark shit that's
Yeah.
on the Nork Project.
Yeah, Nork Project with a live band would be crazy.
Yeah.
That would be crazy.
Yeah.
Could you imagine if you could get that kind of sound? If
We're
you could get
trying to
that
figure it
visceral
out.
kind of like, just like smack you in the face each beat kind of thing. That'd be crazy.
Yeah, we're trying to figure that out.
Well, listen, Trails, I appreciate you for joining me today. This has been crazy.
It's been a pleasure, man.
Lots of gems in this one, you know, but I'm hooked on this idea now that there's two sides to what's going on in your world. And so now anytime you start posting stuff, I've got that in mind. But I'm excited to stay posted on what you're doing and let me know when the shows are, and we got to get you back in, man, when the Trill Dollar album comes out. I'll get both you and Dollar in here.
Oh, yeah, that'd be fire.
Yeah, he can hit
And
record
I'll
and
try
then
to-
run in here.
I'll try to post more music than food, man. I gotta work on that.
Hey, the food's helpful though, because I'm trying to I'm not a foodie. My sister's a foodie. I'm trying to learn how to like cook more or whatever. it's one of those things, you know. We all got our things.
Yeah.
But like my sister's big about it. So anyway, I'm trying to get more on the food train. So
Yeah.
I mean, keep it coming. I'm here for all of it.
Appreciate you, bro.
Facts. Trails.
Yeah.
Thank you. The Riber Sessions, Trilly Trills. Peace out.
Peace.